Hi y'all, Jeff here with Jeff's Cars and Garage, and I'm in my garage, as you can see. I got a little jacket on. It's a kind of a little bit of a chilly morning this morning, but not all bad. It's supposed to get up into the 60s, so pretty darn good for October in Nebraska, especially in the northern half of Nebraska. So what I'm going to talk about today, and this is, I kind of stumbled across an article, actually, well, two articles, and I'm going to kind of combine a little bit of them, and I have no papers and nothing. I'm just kind of repeating a little bit of what I've read in the article, and there's some very disturbing news out in the car world today, and it's not been this bad, and so I hate to be the Debbie Downer or the negative Nelly, but I've been predicting this for quite some time. Those that have can continue to spend and invest and, do things with cars like this that are, like what I'm standing by, and make some money, profit, and so on and so forth. But, the working class today, and I'm in that working class. I buy cars that, that interest me, but I try and revive them and bring them back to life. And that's kind of what the channel is about, is to, it's a hobby, and it's always been a hobby of mine. I mean, I'm over 150, 160 cars. I'm probably close to 160 cars in my lifetime that I have bought, and some of them have been, disasters, and I've lost money on them, but, I'm not dealing in the high-end kind of thing. But the working folks, for our everyday drivers and things like that, we go to a car dealership and we purchase a car. And we all know a car loses money the minute you drive it off of the lot. But car dealers today, and well, they've always been this way. I mean, they're out there to make a sale. They're out there to sell you a car, and you drive off the lot, and you're all happy, and then a few months later, it's like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm making this, in today's times, a $500, $600, $700, $800,000 car payment. What am I doing? What did I do? And back in the day, back when I was a young whippersnapper, back at, after I got out of high school and things like that, in 1980, I bought a 1977 Thunderbird and paid $2,500 or $2,800 for it. That was a lot of money, and I had a loan on it for 2 or 3, I think it was 2 years or 3 years, and so my payment was $100 and some dollars a month, $140. I can't remember all the details, but back in that time period, the cost of the vehicle, the cost of the loan, the cost of the interest and things like that were significantly lower, but it met with the income, because back then I made like $8, $9 an hour, and that was big money back then. But today, we're dealing in a bigger span of dollars. So you go buy an SUV. Let's say you're buying a Ford Explorer, or a Chevy Traverse, or something of that nature, and you're spending $40,000 to $60,000 on a car, and you purchase that car, and you have a trade-in, the previous car, and you're buying a brand new car, and you're trading in a 4 or 5 year old car. Okay, you may have bought that car new. You may have bought it used, but you're ready for that new car. You want that new car smell. You want no problems with it. You want a warranty. Okay, that's wonderful. But the trade-in that you're coming in with, the dealer says, okay, well, I'll give you X amount of dollars. And that X amount of dollars is what the car is worth. That's what they're offering you to trade it in. But you go to your bank that you still have that car financed with, regardless of whether you bought it new or used, you're upside down. You're underwater. And what do? The dealer's not going to discount because they got to make a certain amount of money. They're going to discount their car to sell you the car. Excuse me. But you're not going to be able to discount that enough to offset the difference of what the car is worth and what you owe. That's being upside down. Underwater. Negative equity, if you want to call it. There's really no equity in a car until you get into collector cars, unless you own them outright. So what do? Banks are actually financing that negative equity, and so you're taking that 25, being upside down, whether it be 10, 15%. And you're rolling it over into the new car loan. Well, the statistics out there right now, 25% of Americans that are trading in their car, they are upside down in what they're trading on. That is a staggering number. So that means that you either got to do one of two things. You either got to hang on to your car until you get it nearly paid for, or you got to come up with some cash, because if you're rolling negative equity into a new vehicle, the minute you drive that brand new vehicle, or even a not so used vehicle, a 2-year-old or 3-year-old used vehicle, you are still going to end up in negative equity, and it's going to compound. Give you an example. My daughter, Madison, you've seen her on my videos. You've heard me talk about, vehicles, her vehicles. She had a Land Rover LR4. LR4? Yeah, LR4. She went and bought that on her own. She was very proud to go do it. And she bought it at a dealership that does a very good job. I mean, for a used car dealer, they are not a shyster dealer. She went and bought that, and she had engine trouble. Well, and it was the timing chain and so on and so forth. She did it on her own, and she didn't consult Dad. She had it for a month, 2, 3, 4 months, maybe. And that's when it developed its timing chain issue, and the thing came up on the dash and low power and all this. I mean, it was a beautiful vehicle, but it started developing its problems. And so either we spent $8,000, and that was the quotes we had gotten to fix it, or we get her out of it and get into something a little more reliable, which was the Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. A dealer friend of mine was actually able to do that because he owned the used Jeep Grand Cherokee at a decent price. We could roll that $8,000 into that Jeep, and the bank actually said, yeah, the Jeep Grand Cherokee is holding their value, and with her credit, with the low interest rate, this is a good deal, and so on and so forth. But she had that negative equity, and that negative equity has since carried through the loan. She's been paying on the car now for almost 4 years, I believe. And she is just now getting close to being right side up, to where what she owes on the vehicle and what the vehicle is worth is about the same. Until recently. Now the Jeep Grand Cherokee is having transmission issues. According to the diagnosis, and I may have talked about this on other videos, all the diagnosis on it says, yep, the transmission needs to be rebuilt. Well, guess what that costs? $7,000. Well, my poor daughter doesn't have the money right now. She's not working, and so it's very difficult to justify getting that transmission rebuilt. I don't know how to rebuild it. I mean, could Yui and I pull the transmission out of the car? We've got the 4-post lift right in the next bay. Could we put that in there, pull the transmission, and sit down on a table and rebuild, sit down and rebuild it? Yeah, there's probably plenty of videos out there. Could we take it to a transmission rebuilding place? Yes. Half of the labor is taking the transmission out and putting it back in. Taking it to a transmission place and having it rebuilt was going to be between $4,000 and $5,000. That's what they're going to charge if you take it to them. So we're in a dilemma where she was nearly right side up, and now we're upside down. She's upside down again because of the repairs. So, and it's not for lack of maintenance, because according to Jeep, the owner's manual, shouldn't have to do any maintenance on the transmission for, I don't know, I think it was 125,000 miles. So, there's the dilemma with that. But, how do you get around being upside down? Well, there's several things. And another story is, if you followed me, I had a Ram 1500. It was paid for. I go and trade it for an F-150. Now, when I traded the Ram in, I didn't put any money down. They gave me $7,500 for my Ram 1500. I had no bank financing, there was no bank financing on the Ram. It was a clean title. It was, it was paid for. So I handed them the title. They gave me $7,500 trade on the F-150. The F-150 at the time was retail price, because it was during COVID, which was the dumbest time for me to buy. Just kind of like right now. And so I'll get into that in a second. When I came out and signed the loans and everything, signed the loan papers and everything, I was right side up. Okay? I was right side up. 4 or 5 months later, the value of the pickup started depreciating at a greater rate than what it had before. And I was watching this trend. And so right now, I'm upside down. I thought with the trade-in that I would be, now that I have a loan, I would be right side up for, a period of time, and I'd be right side up. So if I ever needed to get out of the truck, I could sell it, pay off the loan, and I was good to go. Excuse me, not the case. But there's some other things that play into that. Number one, when you're at the dealer and you're in the F&I office, and that's finance and insurance for those of you who don't know what that means. And let me grab a drink here. Yeah. Sorry about that. When you're sitting there in the F&I office, the F&I manager is going to sit there, or the representative is going to sit there and say, okay, we got this service agreement, blah, 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 blah. You get oil changes for this, that, and the other. For the next 12 months or 2 years or 3 years or whatever the case may be. And you say, well, that sounds like a pretty good deal, because that way I don't have to pay the $59.99. I'm only paying say I'm only paying $200 and I get, 8 oil changes over the next 3 years. Great. Put that on there. Cost me $200. Put that on, add that in. The next thing comes, and if you're buying a new car, don't do this. Don't do this. Let me repeat that one more time. When you're buying a new car, do not do this, especially if you're financing. Don't buy an extended warranty at the time of the purchase. You don't need it, because what you're doing is that extended warranty, it kicks in after, not during, after your manufacturer warranty is up. But you're paying that $3,500 for that extended warranty on the life of your loan. You're adding that $3,500 onto your loan. You just put yourself $3,500 upside down. Now let me repeat that. Do not buy an extended warranty at the time of a brand new car purchase. We'll talk about used car purchases here in a little bit. So, there's where most people are getting upside down. The only other way to get around that being upside down is if you put more money down. And so, and a lot of you, if you go in with a 650 or a 700 credit score or better, they're going to finance you most of the time. Now, with times the way they are, banks are pulling back a little bit, but banks understand they need to finance people to stimulate the economy. Well, the banks are the ones who are winning. So, be your own best judge on financing your rig, your new car purchase. And the more you are financing, the more it compounds. So the more down payment you need to have. So now, if you're going to buy a used car, let's say you're buying a 2-year-old used car that has 35,000 miles on it. It's already lost its new car depreciation. But it continues to depreciate, and it's going to depreciate at a greater rate if the economy goes south, or if the car has recalls and all kinds of various different things, and Consumer Reports downrates it, things of this nature. So you could still end up upside down. You're going to have to do your research, do your Kelley Blue Book, values and things like that. But let's say you're taking your used car that you currently have, you're already upside down 10 or 15%, and you go buy another used car that may be 5 or 6 years old, and you've got to finance that because, a $30,000 car, I don't know how many working people in the world have $30,000 in their bank account to just write a check. Some do, and that's the best way to buy a car, especially right now. But you buy that used car, and the dealer again, that F&I person wants you to negotiate the price, and then you go into the finance office and you're sitting there going, well, we're going to give you, for $200 you get 5 oil changes, blah, 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 blah. And you say no. And then it comes to the extended warranties. Now, this is a case-by-case basis, and you, the buyer, need to make the decision whether or not buying an extended warranty on a 3 or 4-year-old car is worth it. Let me repeat that. You, the buyer, have to make a decision whether buying an extended warranty or purchasing an extended warranty along with your used car purchase is worth it. cars that have a lot of electronics, which pretty much any car today does, you go to a mechanic and it costs you $175 an hour to, at least get it diagnosed to figure out what the problem is. You're going to walk out of there with $1,000 or $1,500 bill for something simple. Is it worth putting a $3,500 or $4,000 or $5,000? The cost of the warranty varies on the kind of a car. So a newer Expedition or an Escalade or a GMC Denali, and because that's what everybody's buying today, is Suburbans and pickups, and they're $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. Your warranty, extended warranty, is going to be $3,500, $4,000, $5,000. It's going to vary by the company and how much what the coverages are that you are going to do. And remember, folks, you are financing that in. You are financing that into your loan. See, now you're adding $4,000. You're paying whatever interest you were approved at by adding that in there. And the banks, they assume that. Now, you get credit back if you trade it in early. Okay? So the dealers are doing that. They're going to get down there and they're going to talk a good talk because they're trained by the warranty companies that's what you should be doing. And it's up to you. But remember, you just put yourself upside down. That exact amount for the next 2 or 3 years, depending on how much, what the term of your loan is. So if you go in and buy a $70,000 car, a used car, or $50,000 used car, and your term is only 4 years, you're paying that down quickly. So by the time you get to year 2, you're down to the having 2 years left on your loan. Chances are you're not going to be as far upside down because you're paying more at a shorter term. So there's the key number one. If you're buying a car, shorten your term. You're going to pay a lot more, but shorten your term. But everybody right now, half of the working America is a payment buyer. They want a lower payment. And in order to do that, you got to extend it out, or you got to put more money down. So there's my piece of advice there. Now, the last thing that the dealer's going to do is offer you gap insurance. Now, what is gap insurance? And I'm sure there are other YouTube videos out there that talk about it. But should you have that? If you are knowingly going into and knowingly know that you are going to be 25% or more upside down in your vehicle, or 15% or 10% upside down in your vehicle, and 10% upside down on a $50,000 vehicle, that's $5,000. If you are in an accident, and regardless of whether it's your fault or the other party's fault, you are liable for what the insurance company pays to pay off your vehicle. And if your vehicle was totaled, you are liable for what the difference of what the insurance company pays and what you have to pay off on your loan. The insurance companies, they only pay for the value of said vehicle. So if you are 25% upside down in the vehicle, so saying you have a $6,000 vehicle or $60,000 vehicle, and it's only worth $42,000 at the time of the accident, and they total it out, you're liable. If you owe $55,000 on that vehicle, you're liable for that difference. That's $13,000. You still have to pay that. That's where gap insurance comes in to cover that. It pays that off. Now, do we all think that we're never going to get in an accident? Absolutely. I've always thought that myself. My daughter has thought that herself. That's why you don't want to be upside down. And in fact, the same daughter with the Land Rover was in an accident several years ago. She had just bought the vehicle, had it for, oh my gosh, it was less than 2 weeks. She hadn't even plated it. And of course, her trade-in was paid for, so she was coming out of the loan pretty good, so when she financed it, she wasn't upside down at the beginning. Over time it would have been, because it was a Hyundai, but at the time of a purchase, she was okay. She was in it right. In fact, the difference is, when she had the accident, it was the other party's fault. They paid off the value of the vehicle, and it was actually a little higher because of the way she structured the loan. But then her trade-in that was paid for, that all went away. So she was at zero. So it was a little hard to swallow in her case, but her credit was good enough. That's when she went and bought, she was able to buy another vehicle. And I don't even remember what she bought. Oh, I think she bought a hybrid after that or something. I don't remember. But she wasn't upside down at because the loan hadn't completely processed, and the first payment hadn't even come due. It was still 2.5 weeks out. She was still at the very beginning, so she was right side up at that minute. So gap insurance didn't apply. She did purchase it, but gap insurance wasn't apply. So there's how you solve some of the problems. And I kind of squirreled a little bit there, but the key piece that I'm trying to get across to help you, the consumer, if you're buying a new car, and when you're in that finance office and that finance guy is sitting there, okay, here's the service contract, here's your extended warranty, and here's your gap insurance, and this insurance, and that, and all this stuff that they add on, just remember that drives you upside down immediately because of what it does to your loan. Now, again, you should not need to purchase an extended warranty when you buy a brand new car. You have a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty on most all American vehicles, and some of the foreign ones actually have more that covers you, especially on those things. Once you get to the end of the manufacturer's warranty, then look at purchase this on your own and make your own monthly payment if you want to have an extended warranty. That's the advice from Jeff here at Jeff's Garage. Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's something to think about, because again, 25% of America is upside down when they go to trade in a vehicle. Keep that in mind. And oh, by the way, another statistic came out just the day before yesterday that I heard about through a friend of mine, that repossessions on automobiles is up 50% over the same time last year. So we've gotten ourselves in a pickle financially. Now, could that be because it's costing us more to eat, and we're going to pay for food for our family versus paying that high payment on that vehicle? Could be. Are the tariffs causing some of this? Could be. Some of you all voted this guy in, so I'm going to leave it at that. But just understand that you're upside down or you're getting your cars repossessed. What's next? Thanks for watching. Hope this helps. Share it with your friends. I hope some of my advice is good, because guess what, folks? I'm almost there, but I'm at least right side up in my Mercedes GL 350, because again, I bought it back of book, and I had a trade-in that was paid for, and so I'm about even right now with it as far as the trade-in value. So I'm going to keep paying my loan, but again, that's another thing that's going to help you get out of being upside down. Make your payment, make a 10 or 15% more each month, your payments, because that will help bring that principal down a lot quicker. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and be safe out there.